Nothing gets rid of the vapors on a hot summer day when you're watching the Derby better
Oh,
than gin
lordy.
and tonic, okay? So back, okay,
I've
it's like
pumped
hot.
the
I got the
vapors.
vapors. Gin's the only thing that's gonna fix it.
Oh,
Lordy.
yeah. So thank you everyone for showing up tonight. We appreciate that so many of you are interested in knowing what is going on and what we are planning. When we started talking about putting this together, we had not anticipated the some of the things that have happened on the Alliance forums over the course of today and yesterday and late Friday night, but it turns out that it's a good idea that we wanted to talk to you so that you can have our point of view of things and know where we are headed going into 2021. And I guess first and foremost, thank you to everyone for being part of our community. We were back in March and April more than a little terrified that we'd get to this point of the year and have our community be bored and despite being locked up and not being able to do stuff, not be interested in hanging out with us anymore. So cheers to all of you, because without you we wouldn't be here today, and we wouldn't have the group of friends and community that we so truly appreciate. It's been good to see some of you over the course of the year. In Jackbox, we hope that you're all staying safe and healthy. But today we've got some information for you, so we'll talk about that, and then from there, we'll open the floor to questions so that hopefully by the end of this, you'll have a good sense of what's going on. So as you probably have heard by now, and if you haven't, here's the news. In the past month, the former owners of Alliance have decided to sell the game to new owners. So for those people who need a cast of characters, Mike V is the guy who years ago split Alliance off from Nero and ostensibly owned the rules, and Jesse is the guy who a number of years ago he put in place as sort of the president or operating person of the game. They have since agreed to sell this game to Matt Watkins, who for the sake of no confusion we'll just refer to as Watkins, and Dave Balsam. And both of them have been involved in the management of Alliance in ways for many years. Matt Watkins was the chairperson who worked with the chapter owners, and Dave was the Dragon Stamp coordinator and did a few other things behind the scenes. So we've had the opportunity to interact with them in that capacity, and we've got a good idea of their personalities. Unfortunately, our impressions of them, at least with respect to their involvement in Alliance, are not positive. As has come out today, Matt was removed as the chairperson by the chapter owners because of his behavior in the run-up to 2.0, efforts to waylay the improvements to the game, interactions with us with respect to implementing the CMA. All in all, we were not thrilled with him as chapter owners, and so we voted and removed him. We've also had a number of poor interactions with Dave in his capacity as the Dragon Stamp coordinator in relation to the way that he treated people in a customer service situation. And this frankly gives us significant concerns about their abilities to lead the Alliance LARP in a way that is good for the players. So as a result of these feelings, we've been talking with a number of other chapter owners of how to move forward. And there is a group that has made a decision that will be announced later this week in that vein. But we're not going to talk about that decision in any detail tonight because we have elected not to join their efforts. This has been a very difficult decision. We feel that a lot of the people involved in Alliance are really good people who want to build a game that we enjoy, and we enjoy it so much that prior to Matt and Dave purchasing it, we put together an offer to purchase the game ourselves. The less we say about that, the better. Suffice to say, when our offer was rejected, we realized early in the spring that we needed to reevaluate our role in Alliance. So the bad news is we intend to inform the new owners that we're terminating our involvement in the immediate future. While we're very proud of the chapter and everything we've done, we can't see a path forward for us under this new leadership scheme. Um, we ask that you don't talk about this any further online outside of this town hall until we've made that public announcement. We feel that we owe it to be professional to them, but it was important to us that our players knew what was going on before we told anyone else. So that's the bad news. The good news is, because we started thinking about this 6 months ago, long before we were faced with this choice, we've had the opportunity to do a lot more than think about it. And we have a plan for how we're going to continue to grow this group of people that we've come to know as Alliance South Michigan, and turn it into something we truly are proud of on our own. So we're excited tonight to finally announce that we've developed a new LARP where we can continue to tell the same stories and enjoy our community. We're happy and proud to announce the creation of what we're calling the Convergence LARP, and the establishment of Convergence South Michigan, the first of what we hope are many chapters. Writing and developing Convergence has been a joint effort between Chris, Chad, Travis, myself, and TC. And in addition to announcing the new game, we're excited to announce that TC has agreed to join us as a co-owner. We're going to, I see you all clapping, and I'm glad of that.
Pause for applause, yes.
So, yeah. So we're going to take some time now to share a few details about our plan in the game. Once we're through that, we're, like I said, we'll answer any other questions we can. We've got a few answers to questions that we probably think are on your mind. Anyone want to take over, or am I just going to keep talking all night?
You're doing great.
Okay. So let's see. Big question.
I'm going to interject here soon because I've got a lot to say when you start getting these points, but go on.
Okay. So first and foremost, we made this decision to strike out on our own, build a new game, because when we looked at our options, we came to the conclusion that there are a lot of things that we would love to see in a game that we play, and they're things that we can't reasonably get with an iteration of just the Alliance rules. We felt this way for a long time, that and that there are issues with the back end of the way Alliance fits together. And frankly, this is our opportunity to build a game that supports the players in a manner that we feel is needed. We're not going to bore you with the back end details, but we're hoping that this becomes a bigger game that travels around the country, and we'll see how quickly we can make that happen. It is our goal to run Convergence South Michigan events in 2021, COVID restrictions permitting. We are very happy that, as of right now, we have what we consider a strong alpha version of the rulebook. And we are going to run an alpha playtest of those rules before the end of the year. As we do, we're going to provide you all with more information.
If you're interested in participating, because we'll probably do more than one alpha, if you can commit to 2 weeks of isolation and your life allows that, we're definitely looking for a lot of different types of people, not just people close to us, to come and take part in this alpha so we can craft this game together, right? Part of the benefit of this approach is that we can quickly change rules and make it so we can meet all of our goals quickly instead of having to wait for an owner vote and then argue it and then compromise. We think some of the design tenets of Convergence, as we'll go into shortly, we'll be able to meet, and I think that you're going to like a lot of them. But we do need all types of people to come play in these alphas. So if you have an interest in that and your life can support that, just let us know and we'll see what we can do when we do the next alpha.
Yeah. So everyone, moving past that, like we were saying, we hope that our 2021 events, presuming that we are able to run them, they will all be in a beta format. We will make sure that everyone has the information, but know that the rules are subject to change as we discover things that can only be discovered when you run a bigger game. Anyone who participates will earn EXP and retain it for the characters they choose to play, presuming that we don't have any new additional costs. We intend to keep our events, the same cost to our players. We've always understood that cost is a big factor in participation in LARPing, and we've done all we can to ensure that our event fees go to supporting our game, and that isn't something we intend to change. In that vein, we are not currently accepting any donations, whether to Alliance, Convergence, or anything else. Once we move past where we're at, we will come back, and if you want to support that, great. If you say, I want to wait and see what happens, that's fine too. But I suppose I've buried the lead long enough. So speaking of playing the game and characters that you can play, it is our intention that all of your characters from Alliance will transfer to Convergence at a 1-to-1 build to XP ratio. We're designing Convergence to support an ongoing growing game. And with that, we are going to cap all character transfers at 300 EXP with no exceptions for anyone, including ourselves.
Keep in mind that the highest characters in our game are Tom Anduri, followed by Matt, followed by myself, followed by Travis, followed by TC, and then Chad is like in the top 11. So this cap primarily affects us, and it's something we're gonna, we'll work on. I think it's important that while I think Convergence will actually play from levels 1 to 100, that we don't expect that there'll be a level cap in the game proper, because you'll die before you can get above level 100. We do think that minimizing the area in which play is happening, especially during these alpha and betas, so we can hone down on like the certain area where chapters are starting, where characters are starting, and not stress too much about the 50, 60 plus areas of the game. So that's why we decided on 30. That's subject to change, but it's where we're currently working at right now.
Yeah.
And if you do get hit by, sorry, Matt, if you do get hit by that cap, we'll make it right somehow. We're working on the details on what that's going to be. It may be stuff. It may be if we decide to remove the cap that your XP is restored, we may let you have that XP to take to an alt in a way that makes sense, like replaying the progression on a new character. Our intent isn't to fuck anybody, and I know that caps can feel like that, but rather to build the best possible game and give new players and players who are in our APL, which is about 25. We've got like the new high level players like Dave and Ian and Balin who started when we bought the game, and they're all hitting about 30, and we've got a second wave of players who are all hitting about 20. So it's like the prime spot 20 to 30 for our game to live. But our intent isn't to fuck anybody here, so we'll work with you. We don't want you to feel like this is an attack on you.
Yeah. And we will give you a ton more information about character transfers, transferring items, and that sort of thing in the future. We've been focused on a lot of rules related basic stuff so far, and so we haven't hammered out all those details. But as with everything we've always done, it's always our goal to be as transparent as we can with you about what is going on. We can say that thanks to many lessons that have previously been learned from day one, Convergence will support online character management, so you aren't ever going to lose the joy that is some version of the CMA.
You can look forward to a better system, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. So we are making sure that you can keep playing your characters, and we intend to keep running the same game. We are not planning on getting rid of Dragon Reach. We are not planning on getting rid of anything that has previously existed within our world. There will be some changes in the world related to the change to the Convergence LARP system, but you will see many of the same NPCs. You will deal with the same ongoing issues.
And Matt, if I can pipe in here for just a minute.
Sure.
We intend to encode this into the plot line. So there are a lot of easy ways for us to encode this change into the plot line. We intend this to be something that occurs in the plot line. Of course, there will be changes because Convergence is a different rule set, and so you're going to see some changes. But we intend to make the story smooth for your characters, so that you have a cohesive story to tell someone in game.
And I was about to make a joke about whose fault it's going to be, but if I do that and it turns out to be true, then it ruins everything. So we'll just let that one go, and the people who know they're responsible can just know.
I also want to say, since this probably matters to some of you, all of the owners are converting their characters. Like, we're not rewriting anything. So, like, we all intend to keep that continuity going as well, like from a personal level.
Let's see, other things that are important. So we hope that by the end of things that we're going to talk about, you're excited about Convergence, and we understand you're going to have a lot of questions, and we're going to do our best to answer them today and going forward. Rest assured, it's our intention to make sure that you see as little negative impact from this change as we can in our game. We hope that you'll all join us in the next chapter of South Michigan LARPing, but so it's clear, you should know that this doesn't impact your characters in the Alliance CMA or with respect to anything else that may happen. If you want to keep playing Alliance, if you want to do other things, we hope you really enjoy that. And we'll never do anything to keep you from participating in a game you enjoy. I said all that we really need to say about the CMA in the forums and our involvement there. We are going to try to stay out of that conversation because it's getting awfully backbitey and petty, and we don't want to be involved in that. Would you all like to learn a little bit about the game we created?
Yes.
I have some additional questions.
Yeah.
Sure. Why don't we just get those out of the way?
Yeah, people with questions, do us a favor. Shoot me direct messages or put them in the general chat in the SOMI side of things, and we'll circle back to questions in just a bit. Okay.
Or I'll answer them as we go, because we can do that over chat. We can discuss them at the end.
Why don't I read a couple out that have already come through the general chat? Is that okay?
Sure. Fire away.
Okay. Brooks asks, my favorite thing about Alliance is the large number of people that plays around. Do you have any other chapters starting up? It's my favorite thing about the ability to travel.
So we have been in conversations with other places, and we do not intend for this to stay a South Michigan game. We are letting everyone who is involved in Alliance do what they feel is right for their local area, but we are definitely open to starting up more chapters. We are hoping that we can create a strong following in the Midwest and expand out from here so that we can create a nationwide game. That is our hope. And we're going to do a lot of things to develop that. Many of them are part of that back end culture that we've really had a problem with Alliance. It's not a game that works to develop itself, and we don't want to be that game. What else we got?
Let me touch that too. First and foremost, like the very first thing we're working on is making sure that these rules meet our goals. So instead of trying to launch with 4 or 5 chapters or 2 or 3, we need to make sure that we're not polishing a turd. So that's what the point of the alphas are. That's what the point of taking feedback is going to be all about, just so we know we have a solid rule set. Because once you start franchising chapters, there's a whole second layer of politics that forces you to move slower, or you have to run the game like a tyrant, and neither of those are particularly great. So once we know that the game is fun and funner than other LARPs, we can then start exploring kind of that idea of more chapters more seriously. But right now, the thing that's like laser focused is making sure these rules fucking roll.
Yeah. Let's see.
And one thing that neither of them tacked on with this is that fundamentally this is intended to be a national game. So once we get that rule set done, once we are in a place that we like it and that it needs minor updates from time to time, because we're going to have a constant flow of update, we intend to expand aggressively and we have a lot of ideas about how to support expansion, because new chapters need that. So I mean, this is intended to be a national game. We intend to expand it to that as quickly as possible.
And
Let's
that's
see.
So
May I?
go on, Travis.
I just wanted to bring in the point that that's one of the biggest things that I want to compound on Chris's point, is that more than anything, besides making sure, obviously the core game is the most important part, but this is an opportunity. If other chapters are going to come in, we've been running games for years now where the support is minimal or more of a sense of camaraderie. This is an opportunity to write and create entire kits that would support one another, content that could be shared among, a guidebook for monsters, a guidebook for plots, so that there's a cohesive feel without impinging on people's thing. This is potentially, if everything works out great, this is an opportunity to not just make a national game, but to make a whole national true system.
So to answer a couple of questions that have popped up, let's see. When can we expect a rule book? Early in 2021. We want to get through a few alpha tests. We want to make sure that we have things ready, but we are hoping that by mid to late 2021, when we would normally run games, we have booked the Chelsea camp to run games, and we hope to be able to run there, presuming that they opt to open, and otherwise we'll find places to run one days and the like. So we hope that early in 2021 we will have a rule book for you to look at.
I
will
could jump and give you a break.
Sure.
Kira asked if also will Characters in Alliance still be valid in this one or the other one? I can't speak to the other one, but Characters in Alliance should still be valid. Part of our contract deal is that those chapters who are leaving can't be punished, so you should have, and we'll see if that gets signed. But ideally, your Alliance character should be safe.
Yeah.
I know that the people who are frustrated, who have posted publicly, are good people, and I assume they wouldn't want to fuck anybody. So my gut would say that characters in a potential other game would also be valid. And I don't think the armor rules will disappoint you. I know that you've been working on a chainmail suit. She asked about our armor rules. They're
Yes.
going to be different. Armor works very similar, but a bit differently. But I think it'll still be worthwhile to have physical armor. That's really important to us as players. Something that we think Alliance 2.0 got really right is that now suddenly it makes sense to have people in chainmail and stuff, and we certainly don't want to punish people for wearing physical armor. It was a sad part of the old game that no one ever wore it. We're exploring. And then lastly, Kira also answered, will people be able to transform other games like Harps, Nero, FanRev, etc.? Yes, in short.
In short, yes.
What those will be and how they convert, we'll have to look at. I don't know a ton about Carp's progression. I know a lot about Nero's progression, so we have a solid idea of what that conversion might look like from Nero. What we're going to do is we're going to let every player convert their characters once. So if you have a Nero character and you've got a Carp's character and you've got an Alliance character, they can all come in at once. That's it. You don't get to go back to Nero, level your character up some more, and reconvert in. So you'll get one character conversion per player, but we encourage you to take advantage of that when you do convert.
Okay. What do you got, T?
Oh, I was just going to answer another question, but if you're moving on, then
Well, is it the next question that's in the chat from Jared?
that is one of them. Yes.
Okay,
Go
so
ahead.
I can't wait to tell you guys more about the game. So Jared, the answer to your question is, are we looking at this being more of a 2.1 update or a brand new game? It's a brand new game. It is a light touch combat game like Alliance, like Nero, like many other combat games in that respect. It has skills and classes and races and things like that, but it is a whole new game, and it is approachable. That is one of our goals. So let's hit some high points. We are starting with 5 classes of skills: warriors, rogues, mages, artisans, and envoys. Skills from these classes can be mixed and matched without any restrictions. Skills just have a cost. Doesn't matter what you're playing, you pay that cost and you pick up skills left and right. There's other gates that limit you from creating, horribly weird characters that don't function correctly, but we want our players to be able to create the very unique character that they can, enjoy. Right now, our alpha rulebook has over 250 skills. For those people who are interested in crafting and have always thought that crafting has been the redheaded stepchild of games that they've played, our artisans will make weapons, armor, gadgets, bombs, scrolls, potions, runes, charms, trinkets, foci, tools, and banners. There are currently 300 plus craftable items, and our crafting system is robust and fairly different from the Alliance system that you know. And we'll get into more of that. I mentioned envoys. Envoys are an entirely new concept that adds social interaction skills, skill renewal, and non-magic character buffs to the skill set, increasing opportunities for players who want characters that impact the world politically and socially and without engaging in combat directly. All of those.
Can I jump in here too?
Yeah.
We spent a lot of time thinking about what is missing from a game like Alliance, and in our late teens and early 20s, there was a real twang of elitism where you had to be the best fighter. You couldn't come on mods if you're not good enough. And as we've kind of grown and I guess softened, or maybe become probably more mature is the answer, we've realized that not everybody can fight or is interested in fighting nonstop. So the envoy is kind of like the summation of all of our thoughts about somebody who isn't interested in fighting or can't or whatever, and is something typically in this role in Alliance, you're relegated to healer. And we thought that while functional, shouldn't be the only option. And so this new class of skills, and it's quite a few, don't require much or any physical beyond talking, physical capabilities, and actually are a pretty core and important part of our game. You're gonna need envoy characters if you want to see people excel.
Yeah. So let me finish running through these, because I see a bunch of things popping up, and I want to. A lot of those are things that we are going to address. So mages, you're no longer tied to simply earth and celestial magic. We have 6 schools of magic that again can be mixed and matched. Necromancy isn't some oogie boogie specter of darkness, but there are forbidden spells in every school of magic. Between our 6 schools, currently we have, I think, 120 spells, including unique rituals in each school. We aren't leaving out the sort of core sword part of sword and sorcery. Our warriors have a ton more options. Like 2.0 Alliance, we've added a lot of moves that allow warriors to do more than just passive damage. They have the option to increase their active defenses. They can simply become heavy tanks that can soak up a ton of punishment. And all of these things can be mixed and matched.
I'm gonna jump in
last
here
but not least, we've tried to improve the rogue play style as well by giving them more options. Rogues in Convergence learn what we've termed tactical skills, which improve their effectiveness when positioned behind a target, but don't leave them empty-handed when they're in front of it. They've got a ton of defensive options for avoiding all kinds of types of attacks. And they are our masters of ranged combat, whether you want to use a longbow or throwing daggers. They're there to fill that role. Jeff, to answer your question, given the 120 spells, 250 skills, 300 craftable items.
God, I was waiting to point this out.
we appreciate that number sounds overwhelming. We have.
Oh, let me do it.
Okay.
There's only 22 effects in the game. Some of them have descriptors which will let you do things. Think about it like when you stun a limb or disarm an item, you pick which arm something does, or maybe you pick both arms, or you pick legs, or you pick everything. So all our effects all have additional descriptors on them, and so that lets you really have to think about only 20 things. That's significantly less than most games. So we believe that the game is actually something you can learn pretty quickly, and these descriptors are fairly obvious, like stun legs. Well, if you understand what stun means, you understand that you can't move your legs, and we iterate on that concept a lot, and that's how we're able to provide only 20, I think it's 22 effects, and one of them is like 1 I travel, 2 I travel, 3 I travel, and still have so many skill options. Kind of the mantra is like mega complexity in character building, so that there's a large number of unique options and super simplicity in play. And I think we've hit that goal pretty well.
Yeah.
Real quick,
We are developing. We are currently working on a full rule book, a player/culture guide, a crafting supplement, a book to give to plot teams, and there are a ton of other ideas that we have come out with that we would like to put forward. But one thing that everyone will be able to get before they play is a quick start guide that's less than 20 pages long. That way, you can start playing without doing all the reading. We hope that people can show up and just be able to enjoy our game. We want you all to play unique characters, but for the people who show up and say, look, I just need you to walk me through how I can play a wizard, we've got plans for that too, that let you say, I want to play this core archetype. And we're going to provide you with a bunch of them, and you're going to be impressed by how easy the game is to build if you want to build it that way. We're not going to go into a lot of that because I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver.
I'm going to overpromise right now.
So I'm gonna cut off Chris for 1 second. Just
oh boy, everyone wants to talk.
I know, but I want to put in perspective. You may not realize it, but we were poking around the rulebook, the Alliance 2.0 rulebook. You are technically responsible for slightly under 50 effects in the current game. So even if we went to 30, you would still have less to remember going into this game than you've had to memorize 2.0. At 2.0 cut the other ones down significantly, just to keep it in perspective.
We're playing with the idea of this character building option called paths, and all these characters will have stories and be great heroes of the world. So if you want to play a fighter envoy, you could follow the path of Lycurgus, and I'll have a little blurb about what Lycurgus's build looks like. And when you select it, as you gain build, your character will, or XP, your character will auto spend that XP. So you'll have a character built out that matches this over time. So you don't have to fret about a complex character system, and you can click and not think about it if that's your bag of tea.
Can I make a quick point too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I know, like what we've mentioned, it's very there's a lot going on, and it seems a lot scarier. Like he mentioned, making a character is going to be a lot easier. Something that I was working on before we decided to leave Alliance was a video rulebook to help with people, and we'll be doing that as well once we have a rulebook set down, because I know that everyone learns differently. Some people have trouble absorbing knowledge when it's just written. So we'll have examples and stuff like that as well. So that's going to be something that makes your life even easier. Go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
Okay, so let's see. Other questions that I think I can answer right now. I don't think there's anything I'm seeing in Discord, but let's not forget that there's other things going on. So we've told you that there's going to be hundreds of options for other stuff. Let's talk about races. I don't think we've made it any secret that we think it's important that people can play the character they want to play. We currently have options for more than broadly 30 races, and they're flexible enough that we hope that all of our players can play whatever they want to play to the limits of their imagination. As a few examples, if you want to play your alliance race, almost every race can be duplicated. If you want to play a kobold, goblin, orc, bugbear, you can. If you want to play a fairy from deep underground or tied to the elemental forces of nature, that's an option. If you want to play a magical talking unicorn, you can do that. If you want to play a mute, sentient, shuffling pile of metal, you can do that if it's your idea of a good time. We have literally opened the door to as many ideas as we can. We hope that if we haven't already found a way for a player to play whatever character they want to play, we can add that moving forward. That's a big thing. Other big tentpole things that are different. So things that are the same, combat is still your swing and damage. Spells still have incants, but all of the incants are designed with that 22 effect list in mind, so that at the end of what the incant is, you get the effect, so you know what you've been hit with. Things that are majorly different is we have gotten rid of the daily reset. We are going to use a system where skills are regained gradually over time. One of the big ways we've done this is through a more immersive game that encourages and rewards role playing. So, Gabe, to answer your question, yes, bring your ukulele.
That's part of the envoy.
That is part of, yes. And to answer Evan's question, yes, envoys are gamblers and bards and politicians and battlefield commanders and things like that. But storytelling, singing, musicians, gamblers, teaching others how to fight, discussing strategy and other forms of player interaction are all integral in helping characters rest, refresh, and renew their skills before heading out to a fight. We are very excited about this aspect of the game, and we hope that it moves as well as we think it's going to. I think that hits sort of the high notes of the big changes. There are some changes in other systems. Yes, there will be hit points. Magic will still be slot based, kinda is the best way I can put it, and more details forthcoming. I'm not going to
pyramids.
I'm not going to dig deep into the details of things, because while we are very close to having an alpha rulebook to give to the initial alpha testers, there are a few things we want to hammer out, and I could get into the weeds with all the stuff that we've done. But it is important to also know there's a lot of stuff that we've agreed won't be part of the game when we start. These are ideas that we've already added to what we affectionately call Appendix A. And they are things that we think are great ideas, but we can't invent another whole new aspect to the game. But we do intend that we regularly will update the game with content through expansions. We intend that, just like we're able to look at what skills work and don't, where there are imbalances, that that as we see these imbalances in our character management system, we're going to work to correct them. So this is a iterative game where you're going to see changes. It's not going to be 10 years until you see a change. Let's see. Other questions about skills. Let's see. Evan, yes, all of the races have racial skills that set them apart. Another interesting thing that I didn't touch on, all of the races know certain weapons. So anyone can join the game, pick their race, and be able to at least fight without any other skills bought. We are trying to be as easy to approach as possible. If your race doesn't have your weapon style, you can still buy that weapon style, but you don't necessarily have to, have a build sync in order to just play something or be able to have a sword to defend yourself. What other questions have I missed?
Contrary to rumor, there are no shotguns. Catherine seems to think there are shotguns in the game. There are no shotguns. I don't know why.
There are no shotguns. There are bombs. Right now, Evan, there is nothing you can do to make the transition smooth yet. When there are things that you as the player can do, we will let you know, because we want this to be smooth, beneficial, positive.
Just to answer Kiera's face, the bombs are safe, dear. It's okay.
May I
And
add something? You go ahead.
Evan, you're like one of the exact people that like we value input from, because it seems like you have you struggle against some of the combat parts of Alliance. Like you don't like to play a heavy combat game, and this game offers a lot more. So like insight from you as we build out more of these like the envoy pieces and the artisan pieces, will be invaluable, because a lot of what we saw your frustration with is some of the reason like why we built these secondary parts of the game, so that the game isn't all stick fighting. So when time comes, we'll love feedback.
And to add on to that, it can't be overstated, and unfortunately, it can't be fully stated at the moment. But the potential in this game right now is that a bard entertaining a tavern will be just as valued as an asset to their groups as a dedicated healer would be, considering their overall ability to contribute to skills and the game. We're not talking about you have interesting role-playing skills. We're talking about you have massive game-affecting skills by taking a more passive role in the game.
Kiera, no nerf weapons. We'll be using standard packets, beanbags, projectiles, just like throwing knives, but you can use a throwing bomb in lieu of a beanbag kind of thing.
Let's see. What other questions have I missed? Okay.
Wendy asked,
go ahead.
Wendy asked, how do we put our name in for Alpha Pool to help with testing?
You just
send
did.
me an email. Matt@AllianceSouthMichigan.com. When we update that information, I'll give you the updated email, but they'll keep forwarding to me at that email address. So that's not an issue. Questions that we had previously gotten while other people think about things that they want to know, and we work from there. Okay, so there's a lot of the questions that we got that we can only give you partial information on. We're not going to speculate on what will happen with the Alliance LARP game in general, or any other offshoot of that game that may or may not be in the works. We'll let the people who are responsible for those things speak for themselves. With respect to our game, let's see, what is expected to change with Alliance? We don't know the future. We've said we're developing Convergence because we want to be in control and run a game that we think is good. We're not taking any further action related to Alliance. The chapters who may have another plan are going to provide people with their information going forward. Other than that, if you don't plan on playing Alliance games further in other places than Southeast or Southwest Michigan or Southeast Michigan, I wouldn't keep donating to those chapters, not out of spite, but because there's a limited value to you. How will character transfer work? We intend, as I've said, to allow very liberal character transfer from other games. Right now we have a plan for Alliance because that's what we all play. We'll provide you with more details in the coming months, but it's also our goal is that you're just creating a copy. That if you choose to go back and play an Alliance, or if someone else starts an Alliance chapter in South Michigan, you can you should be able to continue playing your character in that game. We have no intention either in with respect to Convergence or with respect to the fact that we are the entity that owns the software that runs the CMA, of doing anything that affects any Alliance character. We've been very upfront about that. It is important to us that the Alliance game be available to the people who want to play that game. Along with that, what about Alliance reward currency, Goblin stamps, Dragon stamps? We have not finalized our reward system yet, but it is our intention that any rewards that you've earned by providing us with donations of any kind are going to be rolled into the system that we put in place. It will be a different system from Goblin stamps and Dragon stamps because we feel like a lot of what is there became a have and have not situation. But we intend to recognize your previous efforts, because sweet Jiminy Christmas, we would not be able to take this risk without knowing that you have all been so supportive of us. I promise we're not lining our pockets with that sweet, sweet LARP owner money. Along with that, what about actual currency, items, and magic stuff? Conversions to Convergence will include a system to convert game items. We have not finalized the details of this, but it will likely not be a one-to-one transfer. But we're hoping to develop a conversion that is fair to the players, and that you are all happy with. As we do these things, we are, as with everything else, open to feedback. What else we got? Some questions from Brooks that are more or less serious. Did we cause the plague so we could get a break for LARPing? As our legal counsel, I've been advising everyone that we are not commenting on that. Since we have this long break, is there something we wish we could have made someday if we have time category? There is a thing we wish we could have made, and we used this time efficiently, and we made it. Do we miss you? Yes, it's been very hard on us. We have really come to care about this community. We know that for a lot of our players, the last 7 months have been very challenging, and we miss being part of your lives. We hope that you are all staying safe and healthy. We hope that you have not been, having to bear through this alone. And if you need us in any way, reach out, because we're happy to do what we can to be available to you. Are there socially distant activities we can do to get us going when we can play again? Like get together to make a promo video, promo photo shoot, do a one day, but purely for one day goal and promo stuff. Yes, eventually. We're working on it. Give us some time to get through the alpha to make sure that you guys are all accepting of the rule book we give you. And I promise we'll give you the opportunity to get together with us and help, probably in smaller groups as Michigan starts to open up more and more. Last question that Brooks had is, have we ever considered running an Alliance SoMe Airsoft? And as legal counsel, the liability is high, but the real answer is we have not, because we're awfully busy trying to run one new game without starting a whole nother new game.
We've considered a haunted house. We've considered running a haunted house. At least I have, and they won't listen to me. Everybody, please tell them we can run a haunted house. It would be great.
You wanted to fight people. The people need to know they're going to be fought. None of them knew that. That's what happened in '97. We don't talk about '97. I'm sorry.
There's a reason you're not allowed to operate a haunted house in the state of Michigan, Chad.
Can I jump in on part of this?
Be my guest.
So wanted to share this real quick, so that you know that we're getting a little bit more serious.
We do have a screen, yeah.
And it won't be up for a little bit, but later on, if you want to contribute, it will be ready for you. So now the dragon's not going anywhere. Don't worry, Annette. Your tattoo is safe. South Michigan still has its own branding. This is the big game branding. Even though your branding is, Mark 1 and not Mark 3. Anyway, you'll see a lot of this stuff start replacing stuff on social media very quickly.
Let's see. What else we got? Supervision of existing content levels are being acknowledged. No shotguns, no shotguns. My wife has become really associated with swords. Check her out on Instagram. She is a sword bro on Instagram.
Kiara asks when there will be new hoodies, Travis.
Hoodies are a yearly thing, but given the special circumstance and the fact that we're going into winter, I will make you a special Convergence hoodie.
Let's see. Other things. The Calinthus plot team wants us to let you know that we are indeed planning on carrying everything on, and we're excited to have them continue to be involved in this. We need to make sure that we figure things out, and maybe Calinthus will have to be rediscovered. But it's definitely there, as well as all the people who were excited about running things in our Shattered Realms season that never got to be. I promise someday Fuzzbottom will come back and torment you all for a whole weekend. Let's see. What other questions have I missed that have been
I think
put
you
in?
got through everything, but we can take a bunch more now, right? Because I think that's the end of what we have.
We are not going. We are going to do our best to update our social media so that we just transition it to from SOMI to Convergence to the extent that we are able to. If there are things that we have to start anew in order to get names and things, we will let you all know where to go. And then we'll try to be better about making sure that things are consistent across all our various social medias.
There was a question way back when, and I'm not even sure exactly who said it, but one thing, part of the philosophy that I'm not sure who said philosophy, but I liked the word, so I wanted to respond to it. One of the big things was concentrating on things that are not fun, and while I can't tell you why, everybody know what the 10% club is? When you pull that third death and you go away forever, it's not a factor. So imagine that philosophy going in all the way into a game. Anything that ever came up in Alliance that you just went, man, that just sucks. There it is.
Yeah, so let's see. There were questions. Joe asked earlier about getting to level 100 and what Chris said about dying. Chris answered it in the Discord, but in case you missed it, the answer is when Chris said you would die before you get to level 100, it means like you will actually age and die, not your character necessarily would perm. We are attempting to create a game that is in the same vein of excitement and danger that that Alliance is. Death and dying will operate differently. It is possible to die and be resurrected in a way that is very different than a resurrection in Alliance.
It's very difficult to perm, is basically what Matt is saying.
Yes, if your friends like you enough, you can keep coming back. There are consequences for that, but you can keep coming back. Let's see. Other things that I have missed. Kira, when will we be moving characters over? Not yet. I would, if you have existing blankets, existing Alliance reward currency, continue to use them. We will let you know when you can make that transfer.
And I would like to pipe in here for a minute, Matt. We've been discussing this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but the intention is that everybody in the SOMI database and probably all characters that have been played in SOMI at some point, I don't know exactly where the line is, but everybody, definitely everybody who is a member of SOMI and has characters in the SOMI database, those are just all coming to Convergence. We're just automatically transferring. So beyond that, how far, you know, and you don't even have to do anything about it. Beyond that, like if you have characters in Denver, characters in Oregon or whatever, I don't know what extent we're going to or what kind of communication we're going to have about it, but we intend to do as much for you as possible as our community, as our player base. We intend to do as much for you as possible to just get your characters over into Convergence without any hassle on your part. But Chris can speak better to this because, you know, he's the man for this stuff.
Right. I mean, we don't want to punish anybody, right? If you want to play a Denver character or whatever, and it just didn't get imported because it's Denver's data, then you can show me your phone at an event or click the export to PDF button in your character in Alliance, and send that to me, and we can import your character by hand. You know, I'm going to try to do the first pass automatically, but you know, I don't see a reason to punish anybody because they had a character in another chapter. Alliance encourages that it's more beneficial to not have all your characters in the same chapter. So, like, you know, the point is to not punish anybody. So we'll work with you to make it right.
And my point is, a lot of people seem to be, I think that people are nervous about the transfers because we're talking about transfers for 2.0. There was a lot of things that players had to do about getting in their transfers for different things. And in this case, yeah, you're going to need to transfer items once we figure out how we're going to do that. But your characters are going to come in. We're just going to grab them. We're going to take them. We're going to do it all for you because, you know, you're our community. We're going to make it as easy on you as possible.
Yeah, I mean, you have to build your character because the game doesn't translate like at all close to other games. So you'll get another blank character with just a name like you did when you came into 2.0, and you'll have to spend your XP. But you know,
Chad, to correct something Chad has said, as our legal representative, I would like to make clear that we have not determined exactly how characters will be transferred, but we will do everything that we can to make sure that that happens. There are some questions, but we are dealing with them and being proactive, despite what you may have heard from other people on the Alliance forums. Evan, to answer your question is, I would say low to medium with a smattering of high numbers. I'm sorry, Evan wanted to know if this was a low, medium, or high number game, and that he considers Alliance 2.0 to be a medium number game. I would say that it is a low to medium game with some burst damage where burst damage is appropriate, where you would expect to see bigger numbers. Like powerful mages do big numbers of damage and aren't overshadowed by the passive damage that everyone else has. Let's see. Given the lack of restrictions that you will not be under by Alliance, what is something that you're looking forward to regarding upping the thematic and interactive gameplay?
Ooh, can I?
From Jeff. Sure, go ahead.
All right, so interactive gameplay. Again, we can't go into crazy details because we don't know how it's going to start out. But one of the interactions that everyone complains about is that even though many of us have been playing for many years, and you travel from chapter to chapter and whatnot, you know, a werewolf is not a werewolf in another game. It's completely different. One of the things that we really, really hope to do is create a system, a build. I hate to call it this, but it sounds funny. A Build-A-Bear workshop for monsters. To not just give out a rule book saying these are the rules of the game, but to also give content to chapters saying in order to sync with the system, in order to create the best possible monsters and challenges and whatnot, we've created a system for building creatures. So there are creature types, and these are what those creature types are known for. These are the weaknesses, these are the powers, and that kind of thing. Like, and if we can, we'll build a tool set so that they can automatically just punch, make a card. And the idea is that it still gives plenty of creative freedom to individual chapters if they decide to, but more importantly, it also gives enormous flexibility and mixed with a sense of belonging. If you move from one chapter to another, things should feel at the very least similar. You know, no one wants to run over, you know, ramrod over someone else's stories. They should, you know, it should feel better. And frankly, the other part of the immersive part, I'm going to turn this part to Chris because I know he was one of the forefronts in it. Is honestly, it's the calling them passive skills is inaccurate, but let him talk a little bit about Envoy, and you'll start to see what I mean about it's not just about making the game more immersive, it's rewarding things that make the game more immersive.
I lost track of the question. What we were talking about monsters, and now we're
what differences from our restrictions from Somi creating our own game?
What are we looking forward to?
Gotcha.
What are we looking forward to as far as immersion?
Yeah, to finish Travis's thought, Alliance does a really good job of undead across the chapters. Undead generally work the same, so we're just going to expand on that idea so that elementals work the same and golems work the same and giants work the same and whatever. Envoy is like the big thing, right? This is probably one of the reasons why we couldn't stick with Alliance or stick with anybody else who might go on their own. Is because I don't think that this would function well in Alliance. It takes too much. Brian from Arc used to always talk about how part of why you can't change things, and me and him got head to head fighting about this a lot, was because Alliance has a history, and to him and other players, the history of the things coming from somewhere and going and feeling the same across 30 years of gameplay was important. I respect that, but I think it kind of holds Alliance back to try new things and to experiment with these concepts. So we can't do skill renewal if everybody gets their. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to do a ton of skill renewal if everybody gets their skills back at 6 o'clock every day, which is a system we like better than just once a day or once a day. Getting rid of moving the day concept and then letting characters do things by voice, which is something that Alliance has been very against. The rulebook has one line about voice radius. That's a core part of Envoy and its two components, Bard and Emissary. Or is it the other way, Emissary? No, yeah.
No, it's Envoy, it's Bard, and Emissary.
So we needed to kind of break that mold, and I just don't think Alliance could. It doesn't have it in it. The world's too rooted in kind of where it came from to make this move. So these social interactions and kind of some of the voice powers we may have added. I'm talking like a lawyer. We added. Really should make that difference. I think that's going to be it. What we really want is me and Chad had a long talk about, and everybody's contributed, but we were specifically talking, and it was like, and Chad said, I just want skills that encourage the coolest tavern you've ever been to in any LARP. So we looked and we're like, how do we get people to play instruments? How do we get people to tell stories? How do we get people to gamble? How do we get people to do, whatever? And then we worked backwards from encouraging those behaviors to creating this class. And so a lot of the Envoy stuff on top of social stuff also keys on like things that we like to see. Like at mealtime, Envoys have some skills that can do more stuff if you're eating a meal, or before bed, to encourage these situations that kind of happen naturally in LARP, but we'd like to see, like talking before bed, having a bedtime story, or doing a toast. We like those, and so with that construct of Alliance broken and us moving away, we can explore all this stuff without the baggage of 20 years of like this still needs to feel like Alliance, because for sure there are going to be parts of this game that don't feel like Alliance. Did that answer your question, Jeff? That was Jeff, right?
It was Jeff. And I've talked a lot, but the thing that I am probably most excited about is that whenever I get to play my High Ogre Craftsman, it's going to be real interesting. Reginald von Warborn is going to be a ton of fun, and the fact that there are so many options available to people who want to play that role, and to be clear, I can't delve into all the details. However, you don't have to spend most of your EXP on buying craftsman skills. Craftsmen get to do things. Some of those things are unique buffs. Some of those things are being able to improve items just for the weekend. Some of those things are unique defenses that no one else gets because of things that you've been exposed to. The ability to do that is the key. It is being able to have the freedom to not be tied into this system of, okay, you buy blacksmithing, you get 5 points, and the 5 points go to something else. Convergence does not have craftsman other skills, Ian. And to bend, craftsmen can spend XP on skills within crafting that will improve what they do. There are definitely things that are very craft focused in the craft trees. So if all you want to do is be really good at gathering up the stuff you need to make stuff and making more and more stuff and having the most flexibility and being able to make artifact level items that are combined with other crafting skills and the magic system to create really impressive items, that can be your bag. But if you want to be a warrior artisan or a fighter blacksmith that's got, wears a bunch of armor and can also make and repair it, you're not going to be disappointed with that bag either. Go ahead, T.
You go first.
I think, no, Travis, you raised your hand first. Go ahead.
But if you're adding on to Matt, I'm answering something that followed Matt, so you go first.
I wasn't.
Okay, then.
Go ahead.
So a couple people were chasing things in there. So Envoy Healer cross something would be possible. Yes. There are no, like Chris said, there are no classes. You can get your Envoy skills and you can get your healer
I
skills.
didn't actually say that, but I guess that cat's out of the bag.
Well, you did actually kind of say something very
There
similar,
are
but
classes.
so
what you spend your hang on, Travis, to clarify, what you, the player, choose to spend your XP on will determine your classes. If you spend XP on warrior skills and envoy skills, you can call yourself whatever you want, but you are effectively a dual class warrior envoy. It doesn't impact the cost of your skills, but you do need to spend XP in a class to advance that class and get to the higher level skills in the class. If that makes sense.
I did want to address something that David mentioned because we had talked about it at length, faith-based RP and natural archetype enemy for Envoy and whatnot. That's all plot questions, and plot is only barely been developed. The rules have to come first. Is it possible to build almost anything with the system? Absolutely. How the roleplay works, we don't even know yet. We have to get the system in place so we can start crafting how the story impacts the world we already have.
David, you're asking if we're banning religion, right? So, I don't know if he's asking if we're banning religion. It's an open question. We're not done yet.
Yeah.
Right. It is not a hard stop, but we haven't made a decision about it. And it's a delicate subject because one of our goals is also to make sure that we are a welcoming game that does not alienate people because of things that are going on in it. So we will see, and we will see how it develops. What else you got, T?
Okay, so on to kind of Travis's point that marries nicely over is something that we've done is think specifically about the world that we're creating all through the way that we're making the rules. And that actually comes up to like the death rules that we touched on a little bit earlier. Death will be very different. We won't have a bag draw system like he mentioned. There's going to be a tarot deck of fate, like obviously like for resurrection from what Matt talked about, and there will be Grim Reapers in the game. So we've put little things that go hand in hand with matching the rules to the actual world and put a lot of thought into everything.
Let's see. What other questions do we have here?
There was one from, where did it go? Something about spells. I remember the core of it though. Spells, the spell trees, or there's no trees. There are multiple spell schools, and these spell schools are highly dedicated to the idea of whatever it is they do. So evocation just does evocation. Healing just does healing. If you want to be a hardcore specialist, you can be a hardcore specialist. If you want to branch out, you can branch out. It's not very cost effective at the moment to try to do multiple schools, but stick with me on this. There while there is some flexibility within the schools, it's going to allow our casters to be extremely specific about what it is that they want to do. Whether or not, like, protectives will kind of have its own sort of thing, and healing will have its own sort of thing, and evocation will have its own sort of thing. And trust me when I say this, because we have Chad on the team, evocation has its proper place in the world now. And I'm very proud to be a part of that. But expected C's going forward, you should know that you can craft a hardcore mage and pick your schools and specialize or broadcast yourself across multiple schools to expand your effectiveness, but you can't hit all of them, and that's a really good thing. Hybrids, everybody is going to be some kind of form of hybrid, I bet, unless they get super dedicated on something, and all of it's going to be rewarding if we pull this off just right.
So let's see, other questions that we've got. Let's see, since we're getting rid of craftsman other skills, is there a method in place to deal with craftsman other skills that do not involve building things? Right now, there is not. We are not developing a system that is, that adds to your role play, but if your role play is good for a thing, that is what we are looking for. There may be at some point something that we add in, but it's one of those things that ended up in production, that ended up in Appendix A, and is not coming out to start off. Let's see. Bridget says, that's Sloane's job, and I missed what it might be Sloane's job. If it's having craftsman other skills, don't worry. There's going to be plenty for Sloane to do.
No, it was the Reapers, like the Grim Reapers being around.
Oh, don't
worry.
worry.
That's Sloane's job.
Don't worry. There'll be things for you to do. Let's see. Amanda asks, Lydia is a master astrologer, so how would I roll that over to Convergence? I don't think we're ready to tell you the 6 schools of magic yet.
I already did.
He let the cat out of the bag in Discord. You might as well say it.
Oh, okay.
Divination school.
So yes, there is a divination school of magic that is all about seeing the future and knowing how to do some things. Chad, are you ready to say all 6 schools?
I did it.
I did in Discord. So there's conjuration, divination, evocation, conjuration, divination, evocation, healing, transmutation. What am I missing?
Conjuration, enchantment, divination, evocation, healing, and transmutation.
Yeah.
I'm reading your post.
Okay, let's see. Other questions that are in here. Will there be physical healing added, like role-playing first aid and surgery? Hi there, Jared. Nice of you to ask questions that we'd like to answer. Bandaging is totally a thing. It does more than just what first aid does. You'll have to wait and see, unless Chris has already let that cat out of the bag.
I touched just a little bit, but part of what is a frustrating part of Alliance, so this will go back to Jeff's question, is that you need healers to play the game. And that sucks because it puts this stigma around healing. Maybe our number one problem with Alliance is that Celestial is always playing catch up, and there has been a constant push to always give Earth more because the game needs Earth mages or Earth scholars. It just needs them, right? Like without life spells and healing, the game doesn't function. You can't really play an Alliance game for an extended amount of time without an Earth scholar. With that in mind, the bandaging, while it may take time to do, will let you get back to full and do that. So there's less of a reliance on having what will be a healing mage in our game.
Also, healing is its own school, and you can buy multiple schools of magic. So if you want to be a Radiance mage who's got evocation and healing, congratulations, you can.
I got one.
Let's see. Go ahead,
Travis. It was way back, maybe not way back. The ritual thing. We're not dealing with slow boil rituals and higher levels of magic. You will achieve magic across multiple schools. Rituals are built right into the spells. Can't go any further than that because it's going to push too much about what we might change. I'm sorry, but we're not looking to do circle sitting. We're trying to. This is addressing more of the stuff of what isn't fun about the old system. Well, sitting in a circle for 10 minutes to may or may not find a marshal, then you end up sitting in the circle for an hour because you have to have a marshal. No, what if rituals could just police themselves? What if rituals were a normal function of the game that could be regulated by players and then on the cusp marshals, that kind of thing? So it's all part of that philosophy. Not trying to remove a ton, but if we're talking about magic item creation, if that's what you're worried about with the rituals before, you should be looking more at crafting these days.
Evan asked, can we elaborate a bit more on how the crafting system will work, like even at high level trap
Sure.
smith, alchemy potions, and PP system? And is it a PP system like Alliance?
So I before I jump to that, Evan, because I'm excited about that question. Ben, to answer your question, yes, healing mages and dedicated healers are definitely going to be important in combat, but there is more time-consuming and out-of-combat ways to get taken care of. Okay, back to crafting. So crafting, no, it is not a production point system. It is a, as you gather stuff system, you will be able to make things. And the stuff, I think I can safely say, the stuff that you gather will be the primary things that you find. So crafters are going to be important for turning the stuff you find into the stuff that you need. If you don't have them, I'm sure Plot can provide them, but I am also sure that Plot will charge you a much greater ratio to make things than if you have player crafters. So there may be some places where it's more efficient than others. But the idea is that once you know how to make a particular type of things, you can make those things. There are skills in your crafting tree that will let you make better and better things. And then once you get to the bestest things, you can make really cool things. But all of them are tied to the same system of using the materials that you acquire in the world to make things. Past that, the things you can make, there are a number of fixed things. So I talked about weapons, armor, focuses, shields, banners, and tools. All of those things are expandable. And there are details that I'm not ready to get into, but they are things that you have made for you, and then you slot other things into. And those are the rest of the things that you can make. There are a number of things that you can make that, once they're slotted into an item, last as long as the item does. There are other things that as you use their effects, they will go away, and you will need to buy more things to reslot into those slots that will be reopened by them being used up. I hope that answers your questions, because it's about all I can tell you so far.
Okay.
Most of that stuff is done, but without getting into the nitty-gritty of it, that not everyone's going to be interested in, I can't give you better information.
Jonathan asked, are one-shots death, prison, old eviscerate being limited in favor of crowd control effects as a way to help defense creep? Man, Jonathan, I wish you could see the discussions we've had about this concept. Takeouts are super duper rare. There is only one effect that will take you from full body to dead. One, right? And it's very rare where it shows up. The system is built around the idea of quick status effects. So when you make a call, oftentimes with the status effect, it'll have a timer attached to it. So like you'll be like stun right arm 30, for example, and that'll be, your arm stunned for 30 seconds. That's even a high call. Like a lot of the calls are 10 to 20 seconds, I think, maybe 5 to 10 to 20 seconds. So the status effects are, what?
3 is our lowest, and it's common.
Yeah. So there, because regen is happening for your skills, a lot of these small skills will be more like encounter skills than they will be like you can do this once a day. So they'll be much smaller in effect. They'll only slightly affect the fight, but you'll be able to do them a punch. And because you're only dealing with 10 to 30 seconds, getting imprisoned for 10 minutes sucks. nothing's going to be like that in the game, right? We're talking about 30 seconds. The only thing that has anything longer than a minute duration are some of the envoy effects that like change your state of mind, and those are all role play. Like it's not like you're dead. It's like let's have a conversation, and you have a conversation for 5 minutes or whatever, as an example. So yeah, don't worry about takeouts. Body and evocation are designed in a way that between defenses and having a lot of body, all of those are good choices to build a defensive character. Unlike in other games where after you get past 50 body, it doesn't really fucking matter because no one can easily heal you. We've thought a lot about how and when you defend yourself and what is good and what is bad when we're going to this. And defenses, you're only be doing a lot less defending or dying. You're going to be doing more defending versus 10 seconds of inconvenience. And I guess if you're jumped by a guy in those 10 seconds, you're certainly going to get killed. But it isn't like, I'm dead now and I'm going to sit down because some high-level guy hit me with 15 deaths.
Yeah. Let's see. To answer a few more questions that have been quick answered in Discord for the people outside of them. Drew asked if we're planning on including transformations. It's an Appendix A idea. It's not going to make it to launch, but we are the #1 fans of the idea of transforms as a form of magic item that you can have on your body and things like that. The game shouldn't require them, but we're looking at ideas that will help with that sort of thing. Joe asked if there is a gatherer class / skill. Though there are a number of skills that are built into the artisan class that improve that concept, whether it's you getting extra treasure off encounters because you have a scavenging skill or something similar to that, to being able to have more stuff in between events to make items with. So those are definitely optional. Let's see.
Manati has a good question. Are magic items going to be limited or slot based?
Magic items are not going to be limited. You can carry around as many things as you want. Asterisks. There is going to be a limit to the things that you can freely use. If you are actively using an item, you will be able to use it. And if it is something that lasts for more than one event, there will be an upkeep cost to it. But if you decide you're just going to hang 30 magic items off your belt and expect to be able to use all of those things, you are not going to be happy with what you see. That said, if you want to carry 6 swords around so that you have all the options when you need them, you will be rewarded for carrying 6 swords around, and you will be able to slot many more enhancements into your items and go from there.
Jeff said, with an open skill system, how important are prerequisites and how will you go about into buying higher tier prerequisites? We didn't talk about this, but I think that this is set in stone enough that we can talk about it. We have 5 tiers of skills. 6? Is it innate, basic, novice,
well, if you count innate,
expert, and master? Those skills, each skill is in one of those categories, and it limits it explains the prerequisite is built into that concept. So if you want a master fighter skill, you have to spend 100 XP in fighter skills before you can buy 1 master fighter skill. So the further you go into a class, the more skills it'll unlock. And with that, master skills renew much slower than like basic skills, which are like I think basic skills right now we have pegged at 5 XP per you can buy 1. Those numbers are subject to change, but the idea is the further you go, the more skills you unlock. It's not entirely dissimilar to how other games work. But with the renewing thing, we also loop that in so that these high level skills that unlock at those big XP also renew much slower. Kira asked, what we was really praised about 2.0 was how it limited level gaps, and how this game will do that. We've got a couple thoughts about that. First of all, upkeep on magic items means that the have-nots will always have to be paying a price to use their stuff, or the haves will always have to be paying a price to use their stuff. So it doesn't make sense to always bring in, your 30 Camaro swords because you're paying a cost for all those. that starts because then it means that everybody's on a more even playing field. Not always, obviously, because you can pay the upkeep cost. There's a static damage cap. We're working on that number right now. We've got it targeted at about 10. So you can't buy profs indefinitely. We think that that is a problem we've had with Alliance specifically pretty aggressively, because after a point, evocation becomes bad because evocation is a static damage number, and in Alliance. And if you've got a two-hander sword, you can get to 15s relatively cheaply. So you can only, like with profs or whatever, you can only swing so high. That number will keep it down, and you have to buy body, and body gets expensive over time. So we expect low level and high level characters to not be terribly far apart with regards to body and damage. So we think that a character who's built that is like 8th level should be able to stand the line against a character that, or I mean, next to a character that's like 40 or 50th level, on top of the fact that there are no 10-minute or 5-minute status effects, so that if you're hit by that nausea, which isn't an effect in our game, or not an effect in 2.0, you're hit by some takeout that lasts 5 minutes. Well, in our game, it's going to last between 5 and 20 seconds probably. So you can get pulled off the front line, and in 20 seconds you're back up. A high level guy might be able to just defend against that and not move off the front line, but you're still ultimately 20 seconds. It can break you, but generally, you'll be able to get back up and go to fighting. We think that between all of those concepts, it should make for a much better experience with low level players and high level players who are fighting side by side.
To shorten what Chris just said, because I mean he just went into a lot of very complicated concepts about stuff, and I'm sure it engaged many of you. But we're all very tactically minded players that are putting this stuff together, and we built this game to be extraordinarily tactical. So we made it as simple as we could, but as a lot of we thought about it down to 5-second, 10-second increments, and how that tactically affects a battle. So that we can get as much texture out of it as possible.
Let's see. Other quick questions. Rituals are different. They are going to be designed to take a more limited amount of time and be more roleplay based. So you don't need to find the circle that's set up somewhere in town, but you may need to spend some time gathering up some materials so that it looks like you are actually calling upon whatever it is you're calling upon, rather than sitting at a table waving your hands in circles. Let's see. Will crafting recipes be unlocked in play, from JT? JT, as much as I would love to let you all have to spend the next 3 years finding expert level recipes so that it's exciting for me, no, we are going to, all of the novice, apprentice, and expert level recipes will be unlocked simply by knowing the skill. You'll be able to make it. There may be some Appendix A things that go into the future where you have to do something like that, but for now, no, you're just going to know them. Yes, Jared.
Same is true for spells and rituals. We have no spell books. We have no ritual scrolls.
Let's see, Jared. Yes, you are correct that the way the item system works is very socket-esque. Once enhancements are socketed into or fitted into a slot, they are there until they are used. But there are many 1 to 5 shot items that will be used and expended, or weekend long items that will be used and expended. We aren't ready to talk too much about upkeep and renewing skills, but a couple things that we can say is, if your item lasts, if there is a enhancement to your item that lasts more than the event, there will be something you need to do that will impact you in some way before you can use it at the next event. That may be you need to track down a source of energy that powers it. That may mean you need to expend a skill to refresh that item that you can then later renew. But there are things that you are going to need to do. Artisans will have the ability to just help you keep those things in tip-top shape if you pay them for it, or they're willing to do it. Evan has asked some questions about skill renewal, and we are not quite ready to talk about the details of that, but long and the short, when you are not in it does not start when you use it. So it's not like you need to be constantly aware of when you've used something. When you are resting and not involved in other skill use and other things are going on, you will simply passively renew things. We are probably going to have to put a clock up in the tavern so you have a good sense of how much time you've spent there. But other than that, we don't expect this to be a huge burden. It is not minutia bookkeeping so much as a broad system that gives you the ability to pick and choose what you want to renew. And
Also, oh, go on.
oh, I was just going to say, and to respond to Drew's comment in the Discord about hidden recipe mechanics being a huge barrier to entry, you've hit it on the head. It's a big have and have not issue, and we don't want to create that.
I want to jump back to one thing you were saying before we get too far off topic with the time thing. I think the worst timer in the entire game is the 10-minute enhanced blade imbuement timer, because it's impossible. I think it's truly impossible without a stopwatch to accurately track 10 minutes in combat. I think, when you're dying or whatever, you're not doing anything, you're counting to 5 or whatever. But during fighting, tracking 10 minutes, everybody's guessing everybody's using a stopwatch or guessing. And it is what it is. But that's a point of friction. We've removed all of these long timers in combat. A lot of things are swing based. A lot of things are 20 seconds, 10 seconds, enough that, reasonably by the time you think about it, you're probably done. So that friction of humans having to track 10 minutes is gone. And it's a paradigm that creeps into almost all of our design, as you heard us mention. Most things are between 5 and 20 seconds. And if it's a longer timer, it means you're either dead or it's something you're role playing with, which is less important. The time there is less important, because you're kind of in it. You're not fighting or whatever. Go on. Sorry.
Let's see. What else here? Let's see. In the basic design, how many players in a party is expected to properly support each other? I.e., can you play a duo game, or do you need 4 to 5? From Jeff. I think you could play a duo game because there are hopefully things in our overarching concept that will just generally affect you. I do not think you need 5 friends to come out together to build the ideal game to be part of what we are running.
I'll expound on what I was talking about. Could you run a duo game? Most likely, yes, but it has less to do with convergence at that point of what the economics are of how to entertain as many people as possible. What I can say that's unique to convergence is that the synergy between skills is being very dramatically broadened and enhanced. So, like, for example, Zane is a big meat stick fighter with a bunch of healing. Am I self-sustaining? Technically, yes. I get surrounded, I'm screwed. But while that might kind of be possible in this game, the skills are designed to synergize with one another. There are some that I really wish I could talk about, but we've got to test them before we even bring it up even once. The point is that the more people that you bring in, even if you just picked your skills arbitrarily, the chances of your skills synergizing with almost anybody else that comes along with you is going to be a very positive thing across the board.
Let's see. What else do we have here?
Evan asked if we're putting any skills in the game or mechanics in the game to encourage NPCing.
Yes.
Me.
I think we all want to be that one.
It's the idea that you contribute to the game is an add-on in a lot of the national games. You get stamps or reward currency or what have you, and you can do some stuff with them, but after a point, they're not useful, because you do something so cool that you need a jillion or whatever. Our game, and a lot of this is still early prototyping because donations and stuff are secondary to having a solid rules set. But a lot of these ideas are built core into like you have to do this thing to get this reward, and there's no other way to do it. So if you want to encourage NPCing, we need to make something that is cool, not necessary to play the game, to NPC. And so we're talking about what that could be right now. We've got some ideas written down. We'll see where they go. We're not going to talk too much on it, but the idea, and we really have, that's great at the SoMai community, is that like people are so willing to help out. So if we can codify that and make it a recipe to repeat, it'll help if we do become a national game.
Let's see here. What else is in this list? In this system, how does Crafter stack against a sword and board in adventuring? You are definitely integral, because things that people want are made in the crafting system. There are a lot of in I would argue, let's see, there are at least 50 skills in the artisan tree, and at least half of them are combat effective, either in an offense or defensive capacity. So you will not be the most effective warrior standing on the front line, but you certainly are going to have the ability to do some things that other people cannot do at all, and the ability to be impactful when the situation arises. At the same time, if you want to play an artisan who never goes out on combat type things, you are definitely able to do that without, we hope, feeling left out of the role of the game. What else is here? Item durations. Just so everyone is aware, we have adapted many good things from 2.0. So if you show up at an event, get some stuff, and can't come back for a whole year, don't worry, your items don't expire. They are, as you use things, the durability of them will decrease. Let's see. Have I missed anything else? Let's see here. Good night, Drew. Yes, we are. Mechanics for encouraging NPCs.
Dig deep now, people. Any of the weird ones, bring them out.
Yeah, if you've got other questions that we can answer, because I'll be honest, I'm getting tired. I've had
Not
a couple
too
of
weird.
drinks.
Yeah, I mean, we can continue to take questions on Discord or whatever as time goes on, and sooner or later we're gonna get the rulebook to a point where everybody will be able to see it. I know that everybody's anxious, and we're making a lot of promises, and it could all just be made up, but I assure you it's not. But right now we just need to focus on making good on what we're talking about, and just getting the rest of this text done, and then we'll be ready for more feedback, and with it, more questions.
Yeah. Let's see. What else do we have here? What's pinging in my chat? Anyone have questions they want to ask that they don't feel like typing out?
I mean, I think we're safe to a point where we can say that the formality part of this town hall is good, and we can turn this into a proper discussion now, right? Like, we can make this into just a chill out night, and we can chat what we can. For those that can stick around, I know it's Sunday. Unless somebody's got something more formal that they want to address before we do any of that.
Does this have you guys excited?
Pardon us?
Does this have you guys excited? Because I know you were kind of burned out.
Man,
Well,
we've been excited since May.
I had to have a glass of scotch to calm my nerves, because I was actually most nervous about this meeting. I was afraid no one was going to show up, or people would hate the ideas. It seems like everybody, or there's, I'm not going to say everybody, but it seems like there's a fair amount of support for what we're talking about, which to me says that this part of there are parts of the game that other systems we've run have left unserviced, and that we weren't crazy seeing these things, and that maybe we can fix them. So yeah, we are excited, and we've had a year off. And as you can see, instead of being burned out on LARP and not doing anything, Chad started building a prop monster, and we wrote a new rule system.
I think Balin had a question.
Hey, just a second, Balin, before you ask. JT asks, what sort of alchemy are we looking at? Alchemy is a skill of its own that does a thing related to crafting materials. You aren't making a lot of poisons, but tinkers make poison bombs that do a bunch of different things that you can throw at people. So I'm going to have to leave it at that. Balin, what you got?
Oh, I don't have a question. I'm just really excited.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for saying that.
So,
I'm
as
trying
a
to think.
player, you guys have been running this longest that I know of, and so if anyone has a chance of pulling this off successfully, I know it's you guys. And now TC. Congratulations, TC.
Thanks.
Yeah, for just 1 second, if everyone would just unmute for 1 second, because I don't think TC's gotten the proper one. Because if we were doing this in the tavern,
Oh,
it would
no,
sound
no,
like
no,
this.
no.
It would absolutely sound like this. An enormous amount of work, and frankly, she has sat there listening to us for the last couple of months have these meetings where we're just literally slamming our heads into each other, and she's just waiting for us to get tired so that she can go, "Shut up."
And with her, we're well over 100 years of LARPing experience combined.
Got to push you over that edge.
Mostly because she's old like me.
So I'll be adding a note to celebrate our
She
old
hasn't
ass-
killed you all yet. That's the props here. She hasn't just strangled all of you.
It's a strategy. She lives with Chris and none of us.
And being a part of a number of other communities as well, it's very important to also have as sexist as it sounds, a female's perspective on things.
Absolutely.
It'll be very good to see things that
Can't call it an old guys club now, bitches.
But you have someone from a female's perspective that will be able to see things, and a rather open-minded perspective as well, to go, hey, here's things that I've seen in my past. It's well overdue and well needed.
And I'd like
Uteruses over deuteruses.
I want to be very. I'd like to be very clear about something too. It's not just about her experience as a LARPer. It's not just her fact that she's a woman. One of the big reasons we wanted her input right from the start is that she's been working like crazy with new players and how they get introduced to our game. There was absolutely nobody that had more experience at a certain point with just getting this kind of attention drawn to it. Like we get wrapped up in the late game, we get wrapped up in the old game, we get wrapped up in heavy duty plot, and it's easy to miss things. So she was calling us out long before this was ever her job. TC was doing this job. So it's important to know that now that she has this job, nothing's changed. She just has all the authority to make damn sure it happens now.
Looks like Kira had a question.
Okay, yes, hello. My
Hi.
long-time caller, first-time listener.
Thank
My
you for that.
question is, at the beginning of, before the whole 2020 and all of this garbage, you guys had talked about like resetting the plot team, so on and so forth. Are you kicking Lou out?
No, we can't
Lou's
go away.
Lou's helped design some of the system.
What?
Actually.
No.
Lou has been active in these discussions as well.
He was working on some of this.
I don't like him.
Yeah.
I don't like him. I want him to go.
Really,
She just wants her rat back. That's all.
To seriously and truthfully address that thing, a lot of our problems with the Alliance and other games is entrenched power and the old boys club. And so we have a lot of staff positions or people who have been with us for a while, and so making them like firing everybody and making them go through and recertify as a marshal and like recommit to doing something encourages that no one's being stagnant and just along for the ride, so that we break up that old boys club and every so often give people a chance to get involved. Because if there are 10 plot positions filled and no one ever switches, people may not feel like they can engage in plot, for example, and that means potentially good plot writers don't even reach out or try. So when we do stuff like that, it's because we want to make sure that the entrenched power is always fearing for itself.
I gotcha. I'm gonna mute again.
Yes, Annette.
Will we be given an opportunity if we want to do like martial testing to be helpful? Will that be something sometime in 2021 we'll be given an opportunity to do?
Hashtag Appendix A.
Yeah, assumably. The rules need to get done and they need to be fun before anything else. That's like the first and foremost thing, because no one can be good at the rules or learn them if we're changing them because they fucking suck. We don't believe they'll fucking suck. Let me be clear. I think that this game is going to be great, but there's going to be some stuff that just isn't working out the way we envisioned it, and we'll discover that in playtesting. Once we're through all that, we can then focus on some of like the nitty gritty of like what does it take now to practically run a game. But until we get to that point, here we are.
And that's not to
Thank
say that
you.
things aren't going to change in the coming beta. We're going to find out more and change things from that. Matt, there's a couple of new questions in here. Like Joe asked, said the armor system is going to be similar. Can you expand on the difference? Can't really yet, but here's the thing. 2.0 was a major boon to the armor system, and we want to maintain the positivity that created. So that's the best we can do for you at the moment. To Ian, library system, the army system, the other systems, it's still
Appendix
sort of
A.
a plot function. It's
Appendix A.
we need to get the core. The core has to be there before any of that other stuff kicks in. But those are all functions that have improved roleplay going forward. They're not going to be ignored. They just may need to be adapted of some kind.
Let's see, Ben, what's the impetus for having more than one skilled smith? If the crafter doesn't spend, I have to have production points. What's the value of a second smith? Just probing, not trying to be mean. There may not be value in more than one super smith. However, there's also weaponsmiths and armor smiths and tinkers and inscribers and runesmiths and things like that. So,
and smiths all have per day skills that are useful practically.
There are a lot, yeah, and each type of craft has different per day skills. So we have tried to build it in a way that is both welcoming to as many people who want to play that type of character as possible, but also so that if there's only one person who wants to play a crafter, they can still have a solid role in the game without feeling like, all they do is sit in the tavern and do nothing.
So Brooks raised a good question, and I know Travis already explained it in the Discord, but what is Appendix A? So that is just, it is stuff that's going to be coming after our original launch. It's just the stuff that we're trying to get out that is like the base core of the game for alpha testing, and then everything else that we can't get out that right at the start is going into Appendix A. That's what Matt was referencing. Sorry.
Yes. Appendix A, nothing gets deleted from the rule book. It just gets moved to Appendix A. Let's see. Other things.
Can one artisan be all crafting skills? This can be a problem if you don't make them specialize. Do you want to answer that?
In theory, yes. If someone wanted to have all of the crafting skills, all of the base crafting skills, they could. It would be cost prohibitive for doing other things.
Like casting, you could have all the schools if you wanted to.
Yes.
But it'll seriously block your ability to do more things. And this is something, we can spend some time reviewing an alpha to ensure that, like, obviously we don't want one character to invalidate anybody else's character builds. It's a core idea with the high level, low level split ideas we've had. So if we find that that's happening, we'll find a way to bust it, This is why we alpha and beta test, and this is part of the reason why, because we can fast iterate on some ideas that if we do find that this is something that's happening, we can correct it.
Jeff, did you have your hand up, or was it just look at my pretty hat?
Well, first of all, you can look at not my pretty hat. It's hers.
It's a pretty hat. What's your question?
It's a cool.
If you're coming from a brand new LARP or just coming from Alliance, what is the biggest fear you guys have, as a deterrent? Or what do you think the biggest obstacle will be, relearning the new system versus the old one?
I got it. At the moment, even though, and here's the thing, I'm not the crafter of rules that Chris, Matt, and Chad have been. TC and I are very often kind of poking and prodding and breaking their systems and then writing our own things in. Not to discount her involvement either, but what my thought was is that when you first look at the book, it's going to look really, really long. Like if a LARPer was told there's over 120 spells, they'd go, "Holy crap!" The thing is that right from the very start, and I'm giving credit precisely where it's due, Chris was absolutely adamant that a spell, no matter what the incant, tells you what it does. So that's the reason. Again, I'll put this emphasis again. If you want to be absolutely technical, in the current 2.0 system, there are slightly over 50 special effects a player must be aware of in order to respond to every aspect of the game.
And
Some
yeah,
of them are really far-fetched. You know, some of them are really way out there. But the point is that if we're under 25, we can get as crazy as we want because everything is a different kind of iteration or a different way of approaching multiple effects. And I think a lot of that's been very well
Travis,
addressed.
can I jump in here too?
I'm good.
And a lot of our effect names are designed in a way that let you assume. If I said magic command don't attack me, what do you think that means, Jeff? As just like without any concept of our system.
Pretty obvious.
Right? Exactly. So like while we're gonna struggle with maybe some calls being longer, they will be more descriptive, and with that descriptiveness, as long as you understand kind of the idea behind command and then the words don't attack me, you should have a good idea about what to do in that scenario. And that's kind of like where we're at. So we've gone through and like we've sadly pulled out cool names for stuff and effects and put in more practical like effects. Like originally it was like don't pacify, which isn't as clear as don't attack me, right? So we've gone and added descriptors. DR does something similar to this, is my understanding. I haven't played it or really looked at the rule book, but they have very descriptive effects as well. And so I think that there's some value in that. So again, 22 effects with descriptors like don't attack me or your arms should make it actually pretty easy to there. And the Alliance rulebook is much bigger than 120 pages. I think we're at 100 on the Alpha book right now. It's going to grow a bit, but it'll slim down a bit too. We just cut a lot of the bullshit because that book is filled with a ton of bullshit.
Awesome. I'm really excited for you guys.
I promise we will not include stories about people you've never met or grossly inappropriate and dated examples of modules that you can run.
I don't have to read out someone's weird first date that you want. It was bad.
Yes, there will be no Bond girl references. Yeah. There will all of
at least in Alpha, right? If that, I mean, we'll see how that plays. I don't know if people will like that idea. I'm being sarcastic in case that isn't clear to anybody.
I mean, we'll take your Star Trek references if you want to throw them in there, Inger.
I mean, I can write up a big thing about how you started LARPing.
Let's not.
Yeah, we're no.
Let's see. Getting into specifics, since we're talking about duration of effects, are circles of power or the equivalent a thing? From Ian. Yes, there is a circle of power. Asterisks. Find out more. Yes, no, there are, and I think earlier Kira asked a similar question. Are there things that you're going to recognize? Like, is there arcane armor? There are concepts that are familiar to you that may be different in the way that they are implemented.
And Matt, can I speak up here specifically on Circle of Power?
Sure.
If you don't, I will.
This is actually a great hallmark for how we are doing things versus how Nero and Alliance have done things. So there is a spell that is Circle of Protection that exists in, what is it? It's in Transmutation? I don't know. I think it's in Transmutation. And no, it's not. It's in my Conjuration. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It is specifically what it says it is. It is a circle that nothing can enter and nothing can leave, which means, number one, you can't make it so that it's permeable and there's going to be no circle fights. Number two, nothing can rift into it, so you don't have to play that game. So specifically, nothing can rift into that area. There's no traveling into that area. No one's getting into that area under any circumstances short of destroying the circle. And so what you get is a circle of protection, as opposed to a circle that you can cast rituals in, but also prevent some people from getting into it under certain circumstances, but other people can pass through it under certain circumstances, provided they have enough power and plot says that they can. None of that. It is cleanly what it says it is, and nothing more and nothing less.
And I
And
still
that's
think
what we're going for.
I think that fits directly into what isn't fun. And it might be effective, but Circle of Power isn't fun in many, many ways. When we're talking about rituals, we're not talking about anything in a circle. We're talking about rituals. Run with that in your head however you like.
Let's see. JT's got a question about warded sleeping areas. I hope people want to make the crafting things that are necessary to protect the place where you sleep. Or barricades for their doors, or traps that might, blow people up. Not many traps. Traps is a thing that we have gotten away from mostly because we don't feel that they work very well ever because they cause a lot of breaks in the action. But we're doing our best to fill in some of those gaps. Let's see here. What else do we have? That appears to be all of the questions that people have put forward. We're getting on to a 2-hour time limit, and some people I'm sure have to get up in the morning. Unless, we're always happy to answer more questions at some point. And you'll see we'll create channels for those questions moving forward. As I said, to be clear, a couple of things going back. This is our plan moving forward. We will be publicly announcing our intentions in the very near future, and working from there. We hope that all of you are excited about this, and we want you to know that we really are, and we look forward to getting to play with all of you and try out this whole new idea. Thank you for spending 2 hours with us tonight. I'm going to try and run some more Jackbox games.
Or maybe some Among Us. We should probably maybe do some Among Us too.
Oh, Among Us too. Apparently Among Us is very popular.
Yes, I was going to suggest that last time you played Jackbox, but I didn't because I just didn't because it seemed too complicated. But we should do that.
It's so fun.
I'm sorry if this is just kind of a random thing at the very end, but there's something if people are interested right now, if we created a little channel about things that you've wanted to see or you have interested in so that we're not disrupting the general channel and everything else, would that be something that this group of people would be interested in contributing to on Discord? We can have our own discussion now that the cat's out of the box, and we can keep it away from the main chats so we're not disrupting everything across the board. And does anyone have any feedback for us right now before we get out of here?
I would be interested in a channel like that for sure. I think that would be a really good idea.
Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. I mean, the reason we spent all this time and stuff is because we want a better game for you guys, not because we like to spend our hours yelling at each other about what level an evocation spell should be at. So we, I mean, this is for you guys. And like I said, I was really nervous, but it fills my, like the spot over
where
here.
Your heart would be?
Where the blood kind of just pours into the rest of my body and I bloat. You guys know what I'm talking about, right? It fills it with more blood, which makes me bloat more. You guys make me bloat, is what I'm saying. So I really appreciate that everybody came out and that everybody's being supportive.
Oh,
this actually was a big deal. This was a nice uplift. Like, put a lot of time in. It's really nice to see support. It really does.
Yeah, and I thought 10 people would be a lot. I was like, if we get like 10 people, that'll be solid. Like, it's the middle of the pandemic. People aren't excited about LARPing. All this drama happening is not making people excited. But to break 30 is awesome. Really awesome.
I love that when I read Evan's messages in Discord, I can hear it in his voice, especially when it's in all caps. Let's see. Oh, other things to know. If you see something in the Alliance forums and have questions or concerns about it, feel free to contact us. Send me a direct message. I'll be happy to address things to the extent that we have a opinion on it. As I said at the beginning, they're going to do their own thing, and other people may do their own thing, and they can choose to do what they will. We are supportive of people getting to enjoy the things they want to enjoy. We feel that this is the best way for us to enjoy our time. But if you're concerned, or if you see something that says, "Hey, Chris is a bastard," I mean, yes, probably, but not in the way they've said.
And we have a really good relationship with a bunch of chapters of Alliance, right? Like we've done a bunch of work in 2.0. We put up like half of the proposals in the past year, if not more. Like I consider I've got a lot of like true friends that I've met from the game, so it's like bittersweet to kind of leave the game and kind of tread on our own. But like there are people I want to see succeed. And there are a lot of great people who are part of that org, and anything I can do to help those people succeed, I assure you I'm doing.
Yeah, we are not being shitty despite what you might have heard. And, I don't have an hour and a half every time Matt Watkins says bad things about Chris to defend him, but I'll take the time.
They're showing their hands. At the end of the day, everything that's is happening. They're showing their hands, and that's where you have to leave it. Always take the high road is where I always leave it.
I'm pretty angry. I'm a pretty angry guy, and I'm very.
You're doing a good job, Chris.
I'm very passionate.
You're doing a good job.
Which leads to off the frying pan, off the handle responses about stuff that I want to make, but I'm at least smart enough to surround myself with people who are much more even-handed and calm. So I write up my responses and they never see the light of day. So there's a lot of dead messages that no one will ever see.
For the record, he means Matt. The rest of us are cheering him on with torches, pitchforks, and dead people.
And my beautiful partner, she's pretty even-keeled.
I've already had my share of
that was adorable.
Messages, so,
Let's see.
Were there any, not questions, but thoughts? Response to all this? We know there's a lot.
I think personally, with what's happened in 2020 this year, it has given me perspective of what I want in a game. Sometimes you just want to go hit someone with a sword. There are other things available for you to go do that. But if I want to go spend my time and effort with people I care about, I want to go do it where I'm going to feel like I'm doing something worthwhile, And I feel that with what you've offered and said so far, that this is something where I'm not going to be sitting for 6 hours feeling like, oh, I didn't go do something because I wasn't part of this group, or I can't go do something because I didn't get this done from last time. Me sitting for 6 hours could be talking, role playing, crafting, learning stuff. It's a back and forth where I will never feel bored unless I'm literally telling myself to sit and do nothing.
Right, and that is like a core idea, right? Like people love hanging around the tavern and talking, and like it goes back to this tenet I keep talking about. Like we're trying to encourage the behavior we want. So like we want to see role play, right? But like people can get hierarchy about it. Like, well, you should love role play for the sake of role play, I guess, right? But like if you can incentivize people to role play, you'll see better role play. When we started incentivizing people to start decorating their cabins, it took off like wildfire. So like we don't need to like be hierarchy about it. It's like, look, let's create all the things we love and want to see. Like when we had that band at Dragonfall, or when Gabe and Jeff Gibson were going to start a band with the banjo and ukulele. That was awesome, right? It was sweet. We loved it. Like, let's encourage that behavior. So there will be times where you're going to probably have to sit down and take it easy because the game has like a built-in relax timer that gives plot a chance to regroup. It gives you a chance to role play. It's a good reason to meet more people because you're relaxing and you need to relax to get your skills back. And that means like, hey, talk to that new guy who's been sitting in the corner alone because he doesn't understand that playing a grimdark brooder rogue isn't the best way to have fun in a game that's ultimately a social game, right? Like all those chances, like, and while you're doing it, you're listening to maybe somebody tell a story, or you're playing a game of poker with him or something, and it's a chance to naturally encourage that role play we want to see.
And I think that is an obvious point too. One of the pictures that you see on Somi on Facebook is Travis sitting around with like a group of players sitting around him. That has the ability for older players to flex their storytelling capabilities to talk to newer players. And why not reward both sides for, hey, we're going to talk to you about this game, about the community, even though it's in game, obviously, but to then have those new players also feel welcomed in. And why not get the in-game benefit of, skills and other things that happens through it. So rather than just like, hey, we would like to see these role plays happen, why not be rewarded for it? Why not encourage it more on a tangible level as well?
I see you, Ned. 1 second though. Just to touch on Gabe and make fun of myself, as much as I talk about how bards can make a tavern great, storyteller is going to be a skill, and if you don't think I'm just going to max that crap out because I can't help but rep it, you are out of your freaking mind. I am going to be buffing the hell out of you people with the same story you heard last event, and you're going to enjoy it just as much as you did before. Anyway, Annette, what were you trying to...
I just wanted to say, like, I had moments when we started this when I haven't been following anything with Alliance. I had no idea until this meeting what was going on and with what, because I haven't been following. But I just kind of want to say, I've at the beginning of this, y'all could tell I was a little bit shocked, a little bit saddened, and there's probably going to be other moments where we're going to mourn parts that we're going to have to lose in our growth. But I'll tell you, trust our owners and our plot team and this community enough that I am excited. I'm ready for whatever it means. But yeah, expect a little bit of mourning with our growth, but I'm excited and I'm very grateful. So thank you guys, and I trust you guys.
Appreciate that.
We got our hand up. We got our hand up.
Just to bring in,
yes, 2 kobolds in a trench coat.
I don't tend to speak up too much about this because, of course, as Chad's partner, I get a little bit of a backdoor view of things. So, I kind of just sit back and let things roll out. But one of the things that, you say, the idea of sitting in the tavern with nothing to do. I tend to be one of those players that I'm not very combat oriented, or I will go in with combat only because I don't want to end up just sitting in the tavern for a couple of hours at the time. And this is something that I can say, at least from talking or getting a little bit of a view of how things are developing, that this is something that is being considered quite a bit. That trying to change it up, that even if you are a player that you want to do most of your game simply with role play in the tavern, you're not going to feel like you don't have an effect on the game anymore. You are going to be able to have that aspect of the game and still feel like you are contributing beyond just your person-to-person role play. And that's something that means a lot to me because that's a big part of my game. And I'm really looking forward to it.
I'd like to add on one thing I think that'll help with that is that I think not only do you feel like you get to contribute, you're also going to be valued for those skills. By anybody that is not wants to sit in the tavern, you will be valued for the skills that bring you to the tavern to entertain.
Let's see. JT's got a question. I forgot. Are there bardic rewards, like telling stories, spreading lore?
Well, hold on 1 second, because Kristen had her hand up before he posted.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Kristen.
That's you. Yeah, you did. You had your hands up and you're waving.
No. I thought I heard somebody saying bye, and I misheard.
Oh. I responded to JT in chat, but we're playing with some of that, right? The Envoy kit, the emissary part is built more for being out in the field, like holding a banner and being able to buff people and give rallying speeches and stuff and be like a battle tactics leader. So for sure, that part of the kit allows you to go out into the field and contribute on mods. The bard stuff is definitely more tavern built, and we probably need to take a good think about like how these people can actually make money beyond just tipping. But right now, like for example, if you do get a tip, there's a skill you can buy that lets you then drop bonus renewal on the person who tipped you. So it'll encourage players who have a good grasp on the system to know like if I tip a bard, I will get more renewal. So I should do that behavior often because I obviously want them to renew me faster. That being said, that may not always be the case, so we should definitely think about what their game looks like if they're only tavern bound, because again, part of our idea is to support people who aren't interested in combat more aggressively. And so what that might be, it might be from NPCs, it might be from something, I don't know. We should have a good think about that. If you've got ideas about what that might be, please.
We will definitely have a official place for you to send information that I promise is not just a black hole that we ignore.
Kira had
All
a
right.
question.
Time for 2 questions.
All right.
Ask anything you want and maybe we'll answer it. This is our ask almost anything.
Well, for Kira, we don't know yet. We do know, but we kind of don't know, and we don't know. Okay. Promise.
Basically, we're not ready to say it because it's not finalized.
What did she ask? I missed the question.
Oh, Kira asked how the economy will work, gold, silver, copper, and if we'll be poor at the start.
I mean, you're adventurers. You are intrinsically wealthier than the highest raised peasant around. But that is what it is. The world will still exist in the way it exists. So take that with a grain of salt. What else you got? You got your hand up.
Yeah, sorry. This is a silly question, but it leads into a more important question. So my initial question was, will I still have my goats? Which translates into a bigger meaning for people who don't have goats at a homeless shelter. What is the whole army system going to look like, or the property thing?
That's going to be specific to Somai again, and since we
Okay.
intend to keep the plot, I don't think those systems, at least right now, will change because we're going to be dealing with writing so many rules, and that system, like the army system, more or less converts to any game. You can play with any game because it's more generic. So you'll still have your goats, right? The world
goats. There are no goats in Convergence at all. So
yeah, goats are gone. They don't make the cut.
Sorry. No goats.
But you can have war ferrets, which are our replacement for goats.
Yeah, but like homeless people can't really eat war ferrets. They don't produce like milk or anything.
No, you can milk a ferret.
You can milk a ferret.
You can definitely milk a ferret.
Yeah, so
Dave has a battle otter you could borrow.
Annette,
yes, Annette, what you got?
Okay, this doesn't have to be answered right now, but will the healing house still exist, or is that something I find out in game, or
The
do I need to
entire
board it now?
world will keep existing.
But we're not going to try to take away anybody's plot or anything. So if you've got plot or whatever, and there is a whole school of healing, right? That is a spellcasting school, so you can play a healer. The world will change. It's going to change because we have an idea for what Convergence looks like nationally, and how if we ever do get to a national point and we have chapters and become national events, we'd like to have meaning. We'd like to do something, and this is all pie in the sky. We'd like to have a plot line that moves forward. So like there is a bad guy in the world, and all the chapters come together to beat the bad guy, and then he is dead, and the world has changed because of it. Instead of like national events being like, here's some isolated plot. That's a bit pie in the sky. There's a lot of problems with writing multi-chapter plot. I don't know if we'll ever get there. I don't even know if we'll get another chapter. But right now, at least, what we're interested in is making those changes to our world so that we can get there, and making sure that players who have plot lines, even if their plot lines change, will still have plot lines, right? So I wouldn't stress about having the healing house or whatever, because I think that'll be there.
Every single
Clear,
member
all of our national plot lines are based on 1960s through 1980s Cold War stereotypes, reskinned into a high fantasy world.
So that everybody's aware, every member of this team has been through a game that suddenly stopped, or like the plot suddenly stopped. But like Chad addressed right from the beginning, switching to Convergence is going to be in game. It's not just going to be flip a switch. Now we're playing another game. We are transitioning to the game. There will be a reason for it all. You'll have a reason to make you'll have it ahead of time to make decisions about what your character is going to be, going forward. So it's all linked. You're not losing your plot team at all.
And if anything, we're very excited about running this game, which has us re-energized about running plot.
They won't let TC and I come off of playing though. We want to write stuff, and they said no, you have to keep playing. So, yes, Kira. Last question.
That was my question, so please pick someone else for
Oh.
our next question.
Give us
I'm so glad that I can read your mind.
Balin, give us the last golden question. Be harsh.
You're putting me on the spot.
I am. Do it, Goblin.
I have a harsh question.
Yes, Brooks.
Okay, so here's my harsh question. I noticed you guys said a lot of times we are changing the rules as to what is not fun and what is fun. That's open to debate at times. Like, some people may have enjoyed Circle of Power, or at least being able to sleep all night without being accosted is fun.
Can I jump in, Brooks?
Sure, go ahead.
I think you may have understood Circles. You're conflating it, or maybe misunderstood.
No.
There's no the idea of warded buildings going away isn't. There's gonna be that. But go on.
My overall question is: are you guys going to form committees or anything like that so you can help not narrow pigeon box what's fun versus not fun, so that way you kind of get more, and make sure that your committees are as big as possible?
You're seeing the very first of that right now.
Yeah.
That's
Short answer, yes. Longer answer, yes. We want as much feedback as we can get. We've seen what happens when everything happens in the back room.
Or when
much
committees
longer
get ignored.
answer. Right now, we want to make sure that all of our players are enjoying what they are playing. And if we are fortunate enough to grow bigger and bigger, some of those issues will, move into a place where, the people who want to be actively involved and have a voice in it can, and other people don't have to. But we hope that all of you and anyone who joins this journey along the way enjoys what we've put together. And we are only building this game for all of you. Asterisk, unless Hasbro offers us at least $5 million.
And Brooks, as you noticed, we've been, or maybe you haven't, we've been soliciting a lot of feedback that has been pretty open over the past, let's call it month. Suspiciously, what would you like to see in the game? And do these concepts interest you? Because we were being a bit sly about trying to make sure some of the preconceptions we had about things matched up to feedback without pushing people.
Yeah.
So for sure, I appreciate that some people like to fight nonstop.
JT asked what I was trying to ask as my hard question.
Let's.
He basically said, "What if your culture changes on you?"
That is a great question. It is my hope that the game is versatile enough to support multiple cultures. Maybe that's not true. It's hard to say. But I think that we've talked a lot about the roleplay stuff. For sure, that's been a pretty big focus of the night because it's something new. But let me tell you, I think that I've played a fighter for 20 years, and I finally switched to scout, but I'm just really still a fighter, right? This stick jockey in me, that, for example, is really important. The first class we wrote was fighter, to give you an idea of how, while we've talked about this roleplay stuff, combat is still an important part of this game. And I think that the system is so different and addresses so much, and it's got this mega complex character building, but simplicity in calls, that it will be truly like support multiple cultures. If a game wants to entirely fight, there are ways to do that, right? And you can, lean on that. If the game is big about role play and politics, well, like the system works really great for that too, I believe. I don't know if that answered your question entirely, JT. Let me know, because it's hard to say. I mean, the truth is maybe we're fucking off base and could be wrong. Like we're certainly not game design gods. I mean, I studied it in school, but like, we're gonna try. We're gonna try to do the best, and we tried to make a game that we think is going to be inclusive for all the styles of LARPing that people will enjoy. And so I think with all of those thoughts in place, this game should be mass appeal for all types of culture. And while there probably will be games that are better for people who only want to role play and do politics, like Vampire or something, and there will probably be games that are better for people who only want to fight, like Dagger Hero or Belgarth or something. Like those games are probably better for people who are just wanting to fight. But this game, I think, will be a good middle ground for all those cultures to come meet in the center.
And of course, we are going to listen to feedback, Brooks. Sorry, Matt, and sorry, Chris.
No, I mean, you're right. Yeah, like absolutely. Like, right. Like I said, we spent, I mentioned this maybe in chat. We've spent the past 6 months writing these rules, and it's been a pretty humbling experience for a lot of us. Like a lot of our egos have gotten beaten down, and we've gone at each other a lot, and we've ripped each other's work up a bunch. And I think that you're going to find that even although it's only been 6 months, that like us writing these rules have given us a different perspective, and we've got probably more even keels about listening to feedback and exploring things. Like this voice stuff, man, I'll tell you what, I fucking was so against like voice talks, because I was like, people aren't going to hear it, it's going to be confusing, like it's bad for the game, it's stupid in Alliance, we do it too much already, I don't want it. I was adamant, and Chad and I were like at each other's throats over it, because Chad was like a real believer that like actually the game can sustain it. Then I talked to Drew a ton, I wish he was here, and like I was like, dude, like I don't know. He's like, well, dude, it's part of DR. Like it's just built into the game, and when it's built into the game and codified, no one fucking cheats. It's just part of the game. Everybody accepts it, and like you've got a good community, people are going to be honest about it. And like it changed my mind. And so I started, once I accepted like the idea, okay, well, like if I'm going to accept that this voice stuff works, what can I do with it now that it's in our toolbox? And then that, once I accepted it, opened up a whole different path of options, because Chad had been looking at it one way and wrote all these voice skills, and I was like against it and was like, let's get rid of this. This is stupid. We should find another way to do this. Once I accepted it, now I had a ton of ideas, and so we've done a lot of that, right? And I know that maybe sounds a bit self-serving, because it's easy to say you're humble and it's hard to actually be humble. But I do think we have changed a bunch, right? And I believe we were kind of open people before, but certainly more now.
I'm very excited about the foundation of how you guys are working this is being laid out. It sounds like you guys have a very strong, like, how and what is worked, and how to make it, and what to go from here. And the think that you guys are giving us about, insights into how you're thinking and whatnot, that encourages me. Like the fundamentals of what the rules base are doesn't encourage me as much as how you guys are like going to shift to it, and everything you said tonight has encouraged me greatly.
Right, and we need to do alphas, I mean, and betas, right? So we're gonna have to do making sure all the combat skills work. I think our first alpha will probably focus on like, is fighting fun, and we're gonna kind of wave, because it's winter too, we're gonna wave past some of the roleplay pieces. Like we'll have characters built into them, and we'll probably fast track it so they're faster, so we can be like, okay, you're using your roleplay skills now, but like let's get making sure combat's fun. And then we're gonna spend maybe some time doing like a tavern alpha and make sure that the role play interactions work and stuff. And we're gonna find, like, I guarantee there's stuff that isn't gonna work in this rule book that we have right now. We're gonna find it and fix it, right, with your guys' help. Or there are better ways to do stuff, and you guys are gonna tell us because we missed something, because you guys all have different fucking perspectives, and those are valuable.
There's one thing I need to add just at the very end here, is that the askings about culture, like what if our culture changed? If you look at the last 6 years, our culture has changed dramatically. I mean, completely, almost entirely differently. I hope it continues, because now our culture could only exist so far within some of the rule sets, and we've branched out beyond that. And it was always the little things. And now we've got an opportunity to do so much more. People have more opportunities to express themselves if we can make this work. It's And I'm absolutely confident we can. So I hope so. I hope it changes because I firmly believe it's the last 6 years. It's only improved every single year.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming out. We appreciate your time. Like I said, we'll do some more community things as we get a book that you can read. We'll give that to you. You'll probably see more of our ugly mugs as we make videos and what are they? TikToks and Instagrams and twit pics of things.
Please shut the fuck up. You're making me sound so old. It's embarrassing.
Oh, it's so nice when I can rile him up. And then when he tells me he hurts in the morning for some reason and he doesn't know why, I mean, that's just a great feeling.
I've never
Watching
done that.
Chris
I never
get
will.
old is great.
Yeah, and the little gray hairs in his beard that he
I don't have
refuses
any
to
gray hairs in
acknowledge.
my beard. They've always been white. My beard just has white hair in it. That's how it's always been.
Okay.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for coming out. Have a good night.
Miss you all.
We love you all.
Good night. We love you.
Bye.
Mwah.
All right.
Stay safe and healthy. Don't forget to vote.
Yeah, vote.
Oh. Yeah.
Fucking vote.
Be safe and take care, everyone.
Shut up, Thetford.
I miss you, Thetford. You were very quiet, but I miss you.
We miss you, buddy.
We hope things are going okay for you up there.
Gabe, you can log off now. It's allowed. You can go away now if you want.
I'm going away. Shoot. I'm gonna go eat. I finally got my computer set up, even though I still don't really have internet. Don't worry, you'll add some mad science is how I got this set up. So
I'm digging that shirt though. That's a
Chad and I are gonna run
it's
karaoke.
a baller fucking shirt. I'm just saying.
All right, bye. I'm gonna walk the dogs. Take care.
What were you saying, Chad?
I'm setting up karaoke. We're gonna do karaoke for the rest of the night.
For the rest of the night,
Reagan's-
karaoke.
Oh, Chad, I may have a surprise for you.
And so we set up karaoke and a microphone. We set up karaoke.
Travis, you and your wife get in the car right now. Come over for karaoke.
Reagan, we got to drive an hour for karaoke. Yeah, right now they say.
We also cat food beer. Cat food
Shout loud enough, they'll hear you.
It's really light and it's really light. It's got a good coffee back to it.
This extends to everyone, but sadly,
Just come
Travis
over.
and Reagan are actually.
Kristen, get in the car. We got a 4.5 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
karaoke.
hey, Kristen, can you pick me up? We'll be there at 2:30.
Good night. Why are you all still here? Look how easy it is for me to make you all go away. It just remove. It works out so nicely. Have a good night, everyone.